Hey teachers, Rachel Parlett here from the Classroom Nook, and in this workshop I'm going to help you get into the mindset of curriculum mapping. Curriculum mapping can be super overwhelming, especially at the beginning of the school year when you kind of look ahead and see your whole school year out in front of you. So I'm going to help you kind of break it down so that it doesn't feel so overwhelming. I want to encourage you to begin with the end in mind. And what I mean by that is that you're going to start your curriculum planning by focusing on the standards that your students need to master. And if we do that, we'll design our lessons and our activities around those standards so that everything that we do in the classroom will lead our students to mastery in those skills and standards that they need to cover. From there, we're going to focus on the assessments that we're going to give our students that make sure that they've actually mastered those particular standards. So you're going to start with the standards, then move towards assessment, and then you can start moving towards the activities and the individual lessons that you're going to teach them to get them to those standards and that mastery skill. So standards, assessments, then activities. So look at it like this. Let's break it down. Start with just one subject. If you focus on one subject at a time, it will not seem as overwhelming. So start with one subject, and within that subject, think of one unit or one topic that you need to cover. And so this you may need to refer to your district or school curriculum to get you started, or Common Core curriculum, whatever your school uses. Start with one unit and one topic. Then look for those standards and skills that need to be covered inside that topic or unit. And then think about what will students do to show that they've understood that standard. And finally, what activities and scaffolds will you provide during that unit to help students master each standard and learn the skills. So we're going to think of it like this. You start with the unit. From there, you focus on the standards and skills, the assessment, and then the activities. You're really thinking about working backwards as you plan your curriculum for the year. So let's go ahead and see this in action. If you are a third grade teacher, maybe one of the units that you're going to be covering is opinion writing. So you're going to think about what standards or skills your students need to master to say that they have mastered opinion writing. So things like providing reasons to support their opinion, using linking words and phrases, and providing concluding statements or sections. So these are the standards and skills that have come directly from my Common Core, if I'm using Common Core, or whatever your district uses. They come directly from that. And then you're going to think about that assessment that's going to show that they've covered and learned these standards and skills. So for me, I had my third graders write a piece on why conservation of the earth is important. From there, I can start planning the lessons and activities that I'm going to have my students do to work them towards that assessment, to work them towards the mastery of those standards and skills. So the lesson activities might include reading some of these books and then using those books to record facts about what they've learned. I have mini lessons on how to include linking words. I'm going to have partners work together to add these phrases into their partner's writing, and then completing a rough draft template. And finally, as I think about my curriculum planning, I'm going to include any vocabulary words that I want my students to use that show that they've mastered those standards and skills. In the download that goes with this workshop, you'll see a very similar template to like what you see here so that you can fill it in for your own lessons and activities and units that you're going to be curriculum planning. Finally, I want to leave you with some tips for success as you begin curriculum mapping for the year. First, I want to encourage you to print out the standards that you're going to be using for each subject that you're teaching so that you can easily highlight or mark the standards as you plug them into your curriculum map. This will make sure that you don't leave any gaps or that you don't forget any standards that your grade level requires you to teach. In addition, it may be helpful to write each unit's name on a mini post-it note and make a movable map. And this is what I mean by that. So if you create a really large chart paper, or even on your computer if you want to do this, and you map out the months and the subjects that you're going to be teaching, then you can place the individual units that you're going to be teaching on the map, and then you can easily move them around until you get a combination that works really well. So for example, if you're working through your curriculum mapping and you see that you need to teach the American Revolution, well, at the same time, you can plan to teach the novel George Washington's Socks, which goes really well hand in hand with your social studies unit. So this makes it really easy for you to kind of move things around until it makes sense. And finally, be flexible and make sure that you make notes about how things are going as you go through it throughout the year. Maybe you didn't plan enough time for a specific unit, or you planned too much time, or something didn't really seem to fit or match everything else that you were teaching. If you make notes about how things are going throughout the year, when you come back to it next year, you'll be able to kind of make those adjustments so that it goes better for the following year. So there you have it, your mini workshop on getting into the mindset of curriculum mapping. Be sure to check out the workshop that I did on the Google Calendar so that you can take everything that you've mapped out for your year and put it onto the Google Calendar so that you can keep everything organized in one place.